Hi, everyone. Welcome to By Design with Dr. Erika, a show focused on highlighting amazing women who are stepping out of the box, saying screw the expectations of society, and basically living their life on their own terms and living the life they were designed to have. Today on our show, I am fortunate to be joined by Dr. Rose Moten. Dr. Rose is a psychologist, author, speaker, and life transformation specialist. Dr. Rose's passion lies in helping others create a foundation of emotional wellness and unbridled success. In addition to all those things, she's also the CEO of Bloom Transformation Center, a wellness center that blends traditional, metaphysical, and holistic approaches to address even the most challenging situations for her clients and patients. Now, what's interesting about this center, and I'm excited to talk about it because I know very little about these things, is that within the Bloom Transformation Center, she also offers some very unique therapies like trauma release exercise, gong meditation healing services, and neuro-optimal brain training. So Dr. Rose, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Erika. It's my pleasure.
No problem. No problem. Now, in that bio that we just kind of went through, there's a lot to unpack there. And it's funny because I actually started my college career as psychology pre-med.
Okay.
And then I changed. So how did you know that psychology was your path?
Well, honestly, I didn't know. It would be excellent for me to say I always knew this is what I wanted to do, but that would be a big fat lie. So and I talk about it in my book, Bloom 7 Steps of Personal Transformation. My first major, believe it or not, was broadcast journalism. So I had these visions and high hopes of I was a huge Oprah Winfrey fan.
Okay.
That's, in the height of her career when I was ending high school, beginning college. So I love the whole ideal. I've always loved the ideal of writing. I've been a writer since I could pick up a pen. I've always loved the ideal of speaking and educating people, just, teaching people about just new ideals and philosophies that we may not have considered before. I was a critical thinker at a young age. So I wanted to go into broadcast journalism. And when I was in undergrad, ending out my sophomore year, getting ready to start my junior year, I became pregnant with my first son. And it was, the thinking back then, because this was a different time, was, you have a kid now, the career that you were anticipating you'd go into is not going to be viable for a woman with a child,
Mm-hmm.
and not only a child, because I talk about this too, in my generation, it was, you get pregnant by somebody, you have to marry them too.
Right.
So now it's okay. So these ideals I had of, traveling around the world and being this journalist and this writer and this broadcaster, I have to shift gears. So psychology was always my minor, not my major. So when I had that unexpected pregnancy in undergrad, I flipped. I made psychology my major and journalism my minor. And so that's how I kind of stumbled into the world of psychology. I was always interested in just the workings of the human brain, just by nature. I'm analytical by nature. I'm investigative by nature. So I wanted to, I was always fascinated by the human brain, the human mind, human behaviors, the predictability that, research in psychology has provided us with. And in addition, I had a father who suffered a major stroke when he was 36 years old that completely disabled him, wiped away, he had dementia, couldn't walk and things of that sort, and psychology is the study of the brain, the human development. So it was always just that interest of understanding, why is it he doesn't have a memory anymore? And, what parts of his brain were damaged and, to explain what the effects were. So my investigative nature led me into this field of psychology kind of by default.
Right, right. And you still have that, you're flexing that investigative side of you still in this space,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I used to work in the neurology space. So when I was working for Big Pharma, I worked with psychiatrists because I worked on
Mm-hmm.
a depression medication. I also worked in the space of multiple sclerosis, and it's so much that's still unknown.
No, about this.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, yes. So that's always going to be a place that requires further and deeper investigation. Yeah. So now you are a psychologist, but you
Mm-hmm.
also have the transformational life coaching piece to your
Yes.
practice, correct?
Yes.
So how did that kind of come about? Because I think a lot of people don't really understand the differences between the two, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, and the difference is, first of all, anyone can call themselves a transformation coach or a life coach, I should say. That's something that has kind of just evolved over the last decade. People who are interested in just helping people live better lives, but they're not necessarily interested in going through the traditional schooling. So they base their expertise more on their own experience. So we have nutritional coaches, they're life coaches because they become experts in nutrition, or relationship coaches because of whatever way through experience or research they become expert on relationship. And so people will, there's no such degree that you can get in life coaching. There's schools that offer certification. I use that term for a few reasons. Early on in my practice, in traditional, clinical setting, as a clinician, as a psychologist, I I recognize I should say the pros and the cons of traditional psychotherapy. You have these modalities, these treatment techniques that, cognitive behavioral, or you're doing psychoanalysis, or you're doing, you have all these textbook treatment techniques that you can utilize to help a person reach whatever their goals are. And they're beneficial, and there's a lot of value in that. But at the same time, as my career progressed, I realized there were limitations to that. I realized that sometimes, we have to take an approach that is not necessarily heavily clinical, that's more individualized, that looks at like I said, the individual as a whole, looks at just how things have changed and how we can integrate modern life into helping a person achieve those goals that they've set out for themselves. In addition, for some individuals, and things are definitely changing now, the term life coach or life transformation coach is a little bit more palatable than, I see a psychologist or I see a therapist. So, that life transformation coach kind of is just a subtitle under my clinical psychology background, to just help people understand what my focus and my gear is in my practice, more so helping people get from where they are to where they want to be.
Right.
So there are individuals that I won't even accept as clients because that's not my area of expertise, and I want them to go to someone that can be more beneficial to them. But I like to deal more with high functioning individuals who, like yourself and I, we're navigating our lives daily. We have all the, the things that life says. If you can have a roof over your head,
Right.
food on your table,
Right.
take a vacation maybe once a year, you're doing good. But there's still this feeling of unfulfillment. There's
Right.
still this of, there has to be something more
Mm-hmm.
to life. So that's my target audience, to just help people just live the best possible life that they can,
Right.
with just equipping them with the tools to do so.
Okay. And you said two things that I want to touch on, in that conversation that you just had, where the first thing was you talked about people sort of finding the term coach more palatable than going to
Yeah.
see a psychologist. What do you think the key is to sort of ending that stigma of I'm going to see a psychologist, I can't tell anybody, it's so hush hush and taboo?
You know what? That stigma is definitely dissipating, which is good news. I'll run into patients when I'm out and about, and they'll run up and say, "Hey, it's my psychologist or it's my therapist."
Mhm.
People are wearing, and I think the younger generation is helping that. The younger generation has no issue with these Gen Xers, or Gen Zs, I should
Mhm.
say, and millennials. The Gen Zs and millennials have no issue with saying, hey, I need a therapist or what have you. So with each generation, I'm seeing that whole stigma or taboo about it dissipating. And once a person has allowed themselves to experience the benefit that they can receive from therapy, it's amazing how they become just an advocate, and it's like they're advocating for, you should see, everyone should seek therapy.
Yes.
With others, that this has been part of their journey.
Okay. And how has it been, with COVID happening right now? I'm sure that telehealth and telepsychology, teletherapy was happening before, but I imagine that it's even more abundant now.
More abundant. People who probably never would have considered therapy for whatever reason, but let's just say even the fact of having to drive to a therapist's office was one of those reasons. We have enough that we have to do. People for the first time, a lot of folks just engaged in therapy. They had the opportunity, insurance companies were waiving co-pays and deductibles through the COVID crisis. So that barrier was gone for a lot of individuals. You're looking like, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Most major insurance companies were waiving those things, so encouraging individuals. The COVID crisis forced us all in an instant to shut down, to be still, which can be a very uncomfortable place for people who are used to perpetual movement. Part of that whole ideal of perpetual movement is what keeps us distracted from focusing in on self. And it keeps us distracted from really evaluating what are the things that I really need to work on in my life. And for a lot of individuals, because they didn't have those distractions, they didn't have the office place to go to, to stay until the wee hours of the night and things of that sort. They were forced to be with themselves and sit with themselves, and it caused a lot of reflection. And as a result, lots of people who probably would have never done it otherwise decided, it's time for me to seek help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine the situation can sort of put you at that tipping point of
Yes.
getting to, wanting to seek out help. Now, you also mentioned, in your previous statement that a lot of people find themselves in places of lacking fulfillment, like something's just missing. And obviously now in this situation also, that's probably happening more often. Is that something that you dealt with in your own life?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My whole the foundation of what I do is, again, based on, of course, my traditional training, but a large part of it is based on my own personal experience, times where I've been vulnerable, times where I had to do the work that I encourage my clients and my patients to do. So I'm really, the first chapter of my book is called Rediscovering You. So I'm huge on people just really getting real with the truth of who they are, the truth with a capital T, not who your parents, your grandparents, your society, your church, your teachers, not who all those people told you are, but who are you? Mm-hmm. And I even developed a personality inventory that I give individuals. It's a quick one, but it's very, very informative. It's very validating. It's very insightful. That helps people on this journey. I do other things as well. It's just whatever I feel I can pull in to help a person understand themselves. Because what I discovered early on is that the majority of people who are feeling unfulfilled, it has more to do with them not being in alignment with the truth of who they are. It has more to do with them operating life and going about life as someone else, fulfilling someone else's dream. I remember coaching clients who said, my parents and grandparents encouraged me to become an engineer, but this person is an artist. A brilliant artist. And, they rose through the ranks of their corporation as an engineer. They're making six figures. They have a nice house. They have, all the, again, trappings of success, and they're miserable.
Right.
And for myself personally, as I mentioned earlier, having a parent to become ill at a young age, I was thrust into this role of caregiver. I was thrust into this role that was caregiver, and to be very highly responsible, because it was a caregiver is a very adult role. Mm-hmm. And so as a result, I did it well. Anything we do often enough becomes our norm. Anything we do often enough, we get good at. And so I was very good at being this very traditional, structured, like beyond my age in years. You know, people now say it's like you're aging in reverse, because I was very old and adult as a young child, you know, and a young adult. And that wasn't my true nature, you know. Again, I told you my true nature is someone very investigative, you know, just curious, just, you know, plugging into the fullness of life. And I had to, you know, at a time in my life after a marriage, you know, added 3 kids to the mix, a total of 4 kids, and, you know, had my PhD at the age of 29. I had all of that stuff, you know.
All the things that make you successful.
All the things that make you successful. And it's like, I'm not happy, you know, and I wasn't happy because I wasn't being my true self. I was still living life as this person who was thrust into these roles that didn't come necessarily natural to me, but I was able to do, you know, well. I was thrust into that because of circumstance. So I find even a lot of individuals, my clients, my patients, are thrust into things due to circumstance early in life and don't even realize it because it happens so quickly. And again, they adapt because we are adaptable individuals. We are, you know, resilient even in the face of crises and trauma. And we can kind of just get lulled into that and not realize that we've lost ourselves in the process. So yeah, I lost myself. That's why chapter 1 is rediscovering you, because I understand if you're going to do any type of transformation in life, that's going to really resonate and feel good and make you feel plugged into life, you have to rediscover the truth of who you are.
Right. No, and that completely resonates with me because I have a very similar story, you know. Go to school, get a job that pays well, has benefits, you know, that's your path. And that's how you know you're successful.
You're like,
right.
Like,
right.
What's missing? And then we try to, you know, go out there and seek other stuff, and we're like, still not happy. Yeah. But it's because we are listening not to the calling in our soul and our spirit. We're listening to, you know, again, each generation, I believe I believe with each generation, we evolve to a higher consciousness, right? So our parents and our grandparents' generation, they were all about that life of security, that life of, you know, I'm here in Detroit. So security for us was, when I was in high school, the goal for most of my peers was to get a referral from a parent who worked for the big 3. So you could get a job at Chrysler, General Motors, or Ford, because now your life will be set. Now you have benefits, you can get the house, you can get the boat, you can get, you know, you can raise a family, you're set. That was the goal for so many individuals. And again, not even considering, is this something I want to do? You know, is this something that makes me, no, you know, our grandparents said, you know, grandpa lived or worked for Chrysler for 40 years and, you know, had homes and properties and raised a family, and, you know, this is what I'm supposed to do. But as we grow, and part of our evolution is to challenge that, you know, and to really hone in on what it is that feels good to us. What are our gifts? What are our aptitudes that we have that we can contribute to making this world a better place? And that's what I help people do, just kind of figure that out.
Right. So is there one thing that can help women sort of recognize that they've hit this point of unfulfillment or something's missing before they hit kind of like the rock bottom place?
We start feeling it long before we hit the rock bottom place.
We ignore it.
Exactly, we ignore it, but we start feeling that early on. You know, when you find yourself doing things out of character, that's when you probably real close to rock bottom. There's a saying I have that I say it's amazing how reckless we can become when we're unhappy. So as a woman, when you find yourself, you know, just engaging in whatever that behavior may be, it could be, you know, excessive alcohol use or drug use, or it can be excessive promiscuity. It could be you may be in a marriage and find yourself in an affair. It can be anything that is your attempt to connect to some sense of fulfillment. All those things I just named is a person's attempt to feel something, to connect with something that feels like I am alive, I am plugged in, So anytime you just start to feel this nagging, we know, when we're like, think about the happiest time you ever had, maybe it's on vacation or what have you. You don't have to tell yourself be happy, because you feel it, So when you are feeling out of sync, when you're feeling unfulfilled, our emotions will tell us that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Now, the book that you were talking about, the Bloom, the 7 Steps to Transformation, Personal Transformation, were the personas that you were talking about, were those the flowers that?
Yes.
Okay. I thought that was the cutest thing ever. Like, I want to hire you for marketing, because rose, bloom, flowers, that's amazing. So can you?
That was one of the things I considered in college, marketing, because I love to be creative.
Oh my God.
That would explain a lot of the creativity in the center also, because creativity is like close to my heart. Yeah.
Gotcha. So can you tell us a little bit more about the book and kind of offers?
So it's a tool. It's a self-help book. And it kind of chronicles even my personal journey. It shares some vignettes about clients that I've had over the years, their journey as well. But it's goes over 7 steps that I have found personally, and through working with my clients, have benefited in us helping to just live our best life. Like I said, your life in full bloom. One of my favorite quotes is from Anise Nin, is that, there came a time where the risk to remain tight in the bud was far more painful than the risk it took to blossom. And so, there's so many people out here just living constricted, living life constricted, and they're fearful of opening up. They're fearful of the unknown. They're fearful of connecting to the truth of who they are. And so this book helps them by, first of all, giving them permission. The first chapter gives you permission to say, this is who I am, and it's okay. I'm a poppy, or I'm a wildflower, I'm a mom, or I'm a tulip, and I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. It's okay with me to be, even though I've been criticized for years, or told I'm too much of this or too less of that. This is okay. So it gives them permission. That's the first step. And then we go through challenging. The second step is like challenging faulty belief systems that may have been imposed upon you by your culture, your family. There's a section in there that says challenge what you know. The stuff that you've held to be truth your entire life, may not be true. So it's okay to challenge that. That's part of the telltale signs of being a mature adult who is growth oriented, is to examine and potentially challenge all of those things that you were told, to just swallow whole, because this is the truth and this is how we navigate life, and then determine for yourself what works for you. So chapter 2 is just living in the now, the present, challenging what learning mindfulness, learning the benefit of mindfulness, and why it's so important for us to be present in the here and now, as opposed to be future focused in our thinking. There's so many people who their daily operations are all about just thinking about the what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? Which creates anxiety. Future focused thinking creates anxiety. Or they're thinking about, this is their motto, I'll be happy when. Okay, so I'll be happy when the kids leave home and graduate college, or I'll be happy when my bills are paid off, or I'll be happy when I find Mr. or Mrs. Right. I'll be happy when, and when never comes. Like, that's again a crutch people hold on to, because it takes them off the hook from dealing with the here and now. They're focused on, I have people that'll say, well, I'll wait I'm not even going to start dating until, this happens, or when I lose 10 pounds, or and these people can say the same narrative for 15, 20 years, because it has nothing to do with the when. It has to do with taking yourself off the hook from holding yourself accountable now for being happy, you know, or past focus thinking. People who are past focus thinking, things were so much better when. I get, every time I hear even older generations who want to demean like the younger, you know, generation by saying, you know, things were so much better in my time, or it's so dismissive to me, you know, or my music was better, my, you know, we have to get out of this past focus thinking, because that creates a sense of depression and despair. Future focus thinking creates this sense of anxiety and angst, you know, and learn to just appreciate the present moment. So that's step 2. And I don't know, you want me to go through the other steps also? Yeah.
Whatever you
Okay.
feel like sharing.
I remember going to a speech one time when, and this is random, but someone was sharing their, like it was a 7-step to something. And you know, we're sitting there, and then they got to step 2, and they were like, okay, that's all I got for today. And we're all like, come on, give us more. Just
Right.
want to make
No,
shows.
but step 2, I want to point out something there, because you talked about being present. And I think sometimes people may confuse being present with you can't plan for life. And I think you brought it out differently. It's what you're focusing on, whether your focus is in the past or future. So
you brought up a great point. So thinking, because we talk about I think this is one of the biggest mental health, and I'll be challenged to say even physical health crises of our time, is overthinking, perpetual thinking. I tell people thinking was meant for 2 things: planning and strategy. Planning and strategy. You know, I have other appointments this afternoon, so I had to think about how am I going to plan this day out. Okay, so before this interview, I need to have this done. So after the interview, I'm ready to do that. That's thinking. But I'm sitting here and I'm saying, gosh, you know, I just wish this would happen. Oh, why did that have to happen? Oh, they talked to me this way. I should have I should have responded that way. This is where most of our thinking is. Most of our thinking is not productive. Most of our thinking, again, is future focus, past focus, not planning, not strategy, but rehashing things that don't make us feel good. And we got to stop doing that, because the body doesn't know that, oh, she's just reflecting and thinking of this, so let's not insert these negative feelings, you know, let's not react to the anger that she's feeling about what was said to her last week, because she's just thinking about it. It's not happening. The body doesn't know that. It's going to react to that. And so again, part of being present is admitting to yourself, I am too focused. I'm too focused on just this thinking process. I'm not in the moment. I tell people, you know, thinking was supposed to be just a small part of our just existence. Again, for planning, for strategy. But so the major part of our existence was supposed to be just being present. I call it consciousness, conscious awareness, you know, being aware, being plugged in to your environment. So that was supposed to be the crust. Let's say 90% of our existence is supposed to be about being present, being aware. 10% of our existence is supposed to be, okay, let me plan this. Let me strategize how I'm going to do this. Let me organize. We flip the switch, I should say, or script, I should say. We flip the script. So we spend 90% of our time in our head thinking about stuff that really holds no relevance to our present moment. And we spend maybe, and this may be generous, honestly, in this society, 10% of our time just being present. And most of the time we spend being present is doing stuff that helps us to stay in this present state, but could be detrimental to us. So I talk how even overeating, when people overeat, that's an attempt to be present. It has nothing to do with food, you know, because when that first chip is going to taste the same that 20th chip did, right? But the reason you're having that 20th chip is because when you ate that first chip, guess what? You were present with the texture, the salt, the sound. Your senses were plugged in, the crunch, and it felt good because, oh my God, I'm not in my head. I'm present. I'm listening to the crunch of the chip. I'm tasting the saltiness of the chip. You know, I'm doing all of that, and you want to keep that alive. So let me get another one, and another, and another. No one gets 50, no one gets 100 pounds overweight because they just like food. And I'll argue anyone with that. A lot of that has to do with our desire to just be present. And I know, you know, that's what they call emotional eating, because it has nothing to do with emotions. It has, I want to just even change that label. It's called, you know, this is, and I'll come up with something better, but it's like just this attempt at consciousness, this attempt at just being present. And food does that, you know, drugs do that. I remember years ago when I had a patient, and she was like last patient of the night, and we were walking out together, and she had a substance abuse issue at that time. And we were walking out of my building where my practice was together. And she was a few steps ahead of me. And she realized I was behind her, and she stopped like right before she entered into the parking lot. And she turned to me and she said, "You want to know why I use the drugs?" And I said, "Why?" She said, "Because it makes me feel closer to God." And for me, this whole ideal of being closer to God, like I see presentness and mindfulness and conscious awareness as being connected to God. Like when you're present, you appreciate beauty. You appreciate all the God around you. So for her, the only way she was able to shut off her mind from the past trauma, the abuse, all of that stuff was using the drugs. And she was able to present, and she didn't have to think about what happened to her. She didn't have to think about the pain and the deception and the, you know, self-denial that she's lived a lifetime doing. She was able to just be in that moment. So we have to recognize how even bad and maladaptive behaviors, again, are linked to our attempt to be present.
Wow. That was great. I like that, because I was thinking like I need to be present with some carrots instead of chips. How can I make that happen? Okay, gotcha. All right, so that was step 2. Now, did you want to?
So step 3, yeah, I'll go
Okay.
over to step 3 and jump in whenever you want to. Step 3 is making sense of your senses. And again, that's a way to stay present. So this is feeding off of step 2. So making sense of your senses is a way to stay present. So there's an exercise, you know, and I raise my hand up because, you know, we have 5 senses. Actually, we have 6, but that's another, we'll talk about that. But we have 5 senses. And so one way to stay present, and I encourage people, take 5 minutes out and do this 5 sense exercise. So 5 minutes a day. You can do it twice a day if you want. It doesn't hurt. But wherever you are, just sit and say, what do I see that's appealing to me? Or just what do I see? Because now you're present. You're looking around, you know. I see this screen. I'm right here on the water. I see a fishing boat out, you know. I can choose to focus on that, and I'm present. I can choose to focus on the ripples coming off as it moves down the river, and I'm present. What do I hear? Mm-hmm. Even in silence, you may hear the hum of your, you know, heating and cooling unit, or you hear something, or music. You know, you can put on music. Music can be very soothing and gets you in a very present and mindful state. What do I smell? This is why aromatherapy is so important. The olfactory sense, our sense of smell, is like one of the strongest areas in our brain, because it immediately can take us, like, even you smell some oatmeal cookies and you remember your great grandmother who cooked them for you when you visited her. You know, I mean, that's a personal experience I have. So, you know, and again, what do you taste? Because what did I just say? Eating and taste and all of that is part of this whole mindfulness that we get into. I tell, like, even going back to like the whole overeating tendency that, especially in this culture that we have, I said, like, say you have a plate and there's 10 bites of food on there. Typically what we do is we rush through the first 9 bites and then we realize, oh my God, it's only a little bit left. I want to enjoy this. But now you like, I want to enjoy it in the present, not rush through like I did the other 9 bites. So let me go get some more. So now I'm about to enjoy my second 9 bites, right. You know, and it in the first time and just paying attention again to just being present as you're eating that. And in the sense of touch, what do you feel? If you go outside and you feel the sun on your skin, appreciate that. When you take a shower, appreciate the water, touching your skin. When you get in bed at night, appreciate the feel of the sheets, on your skin. Like, tune into these five senses, and that's a way to immediately bring you back to the present moment, to calm an anxiety and anxious state, to calm the overthinking mind. So that's step 3, and we talk about our sixth sense of intuition, because when we learn to hone into our other 5 senses and get out of our brain and this pathological perpetual thinking, we raise our frequency for being more intuitive. These tools that I followed myself, I'm able to even plug in and be more intuitive with my patients and my clients. A lot of what I do, a lot of how I help them is because I have intuition when I sit with them, because I practice these things that I'm talking about. So I'm able to tune into them, what intuition is. I'm able to tune into them and recognize this is the direction we need to go with this person.
Right.
And just understanding. Animals have great intuition. I have a dog here, and I'm grateful he's not barking, because he always barks. But they're great in being very intuitive. This dog knows even before I pull into my complex, where I live, that I'm coming. Like, how do you explain that? It's a sense. We all have it. But we allowed ours to become, to get atrophic, because we don't use it enough, just like a muscle you don't use. But we all have this sense of intuition. When they talk about women's intuition, it's not just women. Men have intuition too. When we get that gut feeling, it's our senses, like the spidey senses, like
right.
raised, that we have. And the more we develop our intuition, the better we're able to navigate the ins and outs, the ups and downs of life. Because your intuition, even in the midst of this COVID crisis, my intuition tells me we're going to be okay. My gut tells me we're going to be okay. So I don't have to have that level of anxiety that so many people are running around with. I understand what we need to do. And if I do that, I'll be fine. And so this is where, just really honing in. And again, animals are so good with this, because animals their thinking is for strategy. Let me get this prey so I can eat. Right. They're thinking for planning how they're going to get that prey, strategy and planning. So and there are tons of studies. So when something is for intuition for us, it helps us navigate our environment by protecting us, just like our other 5 senses do. If we smell smoke, then that means that we need to, investigate or get out. Right. If we hear baby crying, that means to go and, our senses help us, help protect our loved ones. The intuition sense helps do that as well. So animals, like even in the 2005 tsunami, there are all types of articles and reports about how very few animals were discovered, with all the human remains that they found following that disaster. And townspeople will tell you 2 days prior, they noticed just unusually how all the animals were going to higher ground. They were going to higher because they are in tune, right. So if we learn to be in tune, we can navigate our environment more effectively too.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's step 4. Can you just give us the highlight of steps, the next 3 steps? I want to get to your unique services.
So step 4 is visualization. Step 5 is affirmation, because whatever we see, we have to see something. What we get is not what we want, it's what we believe we could get. So visualizing it and affirming, a lot of power there, and I talk about how to tap into that power. So that's 4 and 5. 6 is connectedness, or 6 is stillness, again, the meditation, which is one of the things I offer at the center. And 7 is connectedness, understand how we're all connected, how we can be connected to our world and our environment. So those are the 7 steps there.
Oh, okay, great. I personally want to get the book. I'm gonna go find it. It's
website or Amazon.com. We even have Kindle version.
Okay, cool. So Amazon, the website. Wonderful. Awesome. Now, you mentioned meditation in one of your steps. And when we
Yeah.
started the conversation, we talked about this gong sound therapy.
Yeah.
Help me. What
So
what happened?
yeah, so sound again, like we talk about, what do you hear? Sound again has been used for centuries, for cultures over again as a way of healing, calming, all of that. The frequency, sound, when they talk about sound waves, sound frequency, sound is energy. You know, you can't see it, but it's energy. So the gong has been used again by cultures all over the world, just like the drums have been used in African cultures as a way of healing individuals, because the frequency actually penetrates. The frequency goes and it is proven it can damage DNA strand. It can, people leave who come in chronic pain and they will leave immediately out of pain.
And there's studies that go with
Oh,
this?
oh yeah, yes.
Okay.
And all you just come to the center, because people will race in, the regulars will race in because they know the benefits. They're sleeping for the first time in their life through the night. It's because, so traditional Asian medicine, even acupuncture, what acupuncture does, it's not about treating the symptoms. It's about finding out where's the blockage, where's the energetic blockage in this person's body that's causing dis-ease and disease. And so what the needles do is actually help to clear the blockages. The gong does the same thing without the needles. So the gong, because of the sound penetrates, you know, it knows where to go. So all you do, you come in as just a passive person who's just gonna lay down on your mat on the floor or sit up if you prefer, and just take in 45 minutes of sound immersion. And it's just healing, both emotionally and physically.
Huh. So now when you're sitting there, are you meditating on a thought, on a word, or are you just meditating quietly?
But I do see, and that's where, because people say, well, what am I supposed to do? Just
right.
be.
Type A.
Be still. Go to sleep if you want. This has nothing to do with you. Go to sleep. The gong is going to do what it needs to do. You don't have to release that need to control everything. You don't have to direct it to what it needs to do. I had a woman that came in and said, I came in because I heard it would be good for pain. She said, I'm out of pain. She said, but I think I just released the trauma that I've had for 20 years. Like she talks about during the process that she had a flash of the trauma, then she saw herself standing strong after the trauma. I mean, and she left out of there feeling she never felt that light. A lot of even, and her pain was probably released because a lot of physical manifestation is really a result of emotional issue. Like they say, the issues are in the tissues. So when you let issues, trauma, what have you, and you don't know how to properly discharge them, they will set up in your tissues and cause pain, cause disease, and all of that other physical manifestation that we don't want.
Okay. So now you're in Detroit. So
Absolutely.
I can't get to Detroit. So are you doing this virtually for people? Does it work virtually?
It works virtually as well. Of course, nothing like the present, but it works virtually. And so we discovered it works virtually through the COVID crisis, because that caused us to have to pivot very quickly. And I have a Patreon account. You can search Patreon, Bloom with Dr. Rose. And so Patreon members are entitled to unlimited virtual sound meditation for like $10 a month. Like that's a drop in the bucket. But you know, weekly I go on and I put different sound meditations up that's accessible to them at all times that they can utilize. So that works virtually.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that I have never seen that. I'm gonna have to search that out here in the Raleigh area as well, you know. And I wonder, so from your perspective, when you started doing this type of therapy, was there any hesitation from people? Like, because some people, you know, they hear new and different. It's like, I don't know.
Especially they hear, you know, that's anti-Christian, or, you know, and it's like, it has nothing to do with, there are people who feel yoga is anti, sacrilegious, so to speak. But yeah, there was a pushback, but I really don't. I've gotten a point in my career in life. The people who need to come and want to come are going to come. So, there are folks who will always feel I'm not doing that, but I've always traditionally, I trained 20 years ago in clinical hypnosis. And as a practitioner in the city of Detroit, Black people weren't interested in getting hypnotized, but there were some who were because they saw the benefit and, for whatever reason, they wanted to just experience what benefit they can get from that. And I did it. It's kind of like that Field of Dream movies. If you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. So I have always believed that if you build it, the people who need to be here will come here, and don't focus on the folks who are going to say never, that's not me, that's not of God or of Christ. And, this is one, God is there. I have a good friend who is a biblical scholar. She's a doctor of divinity, and she talks about how sound is mentioned numerous times in the Bible as a way of healing. But people are going to people have to they have to kind of work their way to just being comfortable with something that's new. And again, chapter 2, challenge what you know.
Right. No, so you said the sessions you do are 45 minutes. Now I know some people are going to say that's a long time. So can they build up to that, or do they have to do like the 45 minutes total?
They do we close those doors, you're there. And trust me, people want more than 45 minutes. So again, it sounds like you're coming from a perspective that a lot of people, myself included, with traditional meditation used to come from. Oh, that's a long time, because you're trying to put effort into that. This is 45 minutes of no effort from you. This is 45 minutes of you want to go to sleep, go to sleep. You come and just let it do what it do. So it's not what you think as far as being. People say, I want more, or can I go longer?
So are there audio versions that you could just listen to while you're sleeping then? Would that work, or is that too much time?
No. Again, the virtual ones I do, people put their headphones in, or they'll put, their phone or what have you, and listen to it. So it's, there's no such thing as too much or too little.
Okay. I'm gonna look into that. I like trying new things, so we will get to that. All right. So I know we are coming up on our time soon. I just want to ask one question. Any last tidbit or suggestion to someone that has gotten to that place of stuck and just don't know what to do next?
Yeah, just take the hardest thing is to take the first step into saying, you know what, I'm going to, I owe it to myself to invest in myself to just become the best person I possibly can. And they won't regret it. Our best investment is ourselves. And I mentioned I had a podcast last night where I said it's our birthright to be happy. And it is our birthright to be, contrary to what you may have been told, because some people have been raised to tell, don't expect happiness, don't expect, that's not what life is about. It's about discipline. It's about work. It's about effort. It's about all of that stuff. We have a birthright to just be. We have a birthright to be happy, to be, free emotionally, to be just authentically ourselves. But we have to be willing to recognize that and to take the first step to say, okay, just like if you wanted a fitness coach or, teams, our most successful sporting teams have coaches that help them. In life, sometimes we need a coach to help us navigate through just being the best person we can and providing us with the tools. And so these tools are lifetime tools. So my best scenarios, I help a person out and, I may see you off and on over the years, but I have no interest in weekly sessions with anyone for years and years and years, because that's a reflection that, this is not therapeutic. This is more just a crutch.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that information. And what you said you had a podcast yesterday. What's your podcast?
So my podcast, you can catch it on iTunes. We're uploading yesterday's episode today as well, but it's the Dr. Rose Show on iTunes.
Okay.
You can follow me online, Dr. Rose or Bloom Transformation Center. We'll always put them on the those sites as well, and my YouTube. You can find it there as well. So Dr. Rose Moten. Moten is Moten, no L. Everyone wants to put an L in there. So Dr. Rose Moten, just Google me or go to my site and it'll link you to all my social media sites.
Okay. And we will be sure to add all those details to our show notes and everything. So if you guys didn't catch it all, no worries. It will be there for you to find. So now, Dr. Rose, on this show, we wrap up with everybody with our Fab 4 questions. So if you would love to participate, all right, it's not hard, just kind of very first thing you think about, but it's just something fun we like to do here. So here we go. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. So what? It would be the ability to, I guess, teleport myself.
Gotcha.
Because I would be in Hawaii right now.
Oh, child, yes. That would be a great place to be. I'd be right there.
And take one person with me each time.
Okay, I like that. All right. Now, if you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive,
my parents,
okay.
So, just to be able to to be able to sit with them again would be awesome. And the third person, you know what? I'm a huge Muhammad Ali. Put my in there. Yeah.
Okay. Were you a boxing fan?
Yeah, no, I'm not a boxing fan at all. We share the same birthday, but that has nothing to do with it. But this man held his he held firm to his convictions, and he was one of the most hated men in the America at one time, and became the most beloved historical figures we've ever had. So I would love to just have been able to sit down and kind of just pick that brain. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I like that one. All right. Number 3, if you had to choose a song that represents your life, so sort of a theme song, what would it be?
So that's an easy one, but my favorite, Desiree, Gotta Be.
I love that song. Yes.
I would for you guys, but I want your audience to, I don't want to offend anyone's senses right now. No.
I'm sure the sound would be beautiful. All right. The last one is sort of a 3-part, so it's kind of a cheat.
Okay.
But it's just finish these statements. I love.
Life.
Okay. I dream of.
Travel.
That's why we need that teleportation, man. And I am.
Free.
Got it. Dr. Rose, it's free. I love that. Dr. Rose, thank you so much again for being here.
Been my pleasure.
It's been awesome. And like we said, we're going to include all of Dr. Rose's social media handles, YouTube channel, so that you can find her and stay connected. Head over to Amazon if you're interested in the book Bloom, The 7 Steps to Personal Transformation. I will personally be going to get it. So I'll keep you guys posted as I read it. So we'll have all those details for you in the show notes. And again, thank you guys. If you've missed any previous episodes, head over to drericabydesign.com and you can catch the episodes there, and be sure to sign up for our By Design Digest so that you can stay up to date with everything that's going on and get some good tips and tools on how to live your life by design. So
awesome.
Thank you all for watching. As always, hope to see you next week, next Thursday, same time, same place. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Dr. Erika.
Thank you.